Ready? 6 o'clock. All right. Here we go.
Father God, again, we invoke your presence with us as we come together to attend the county business. May the decisions we make be the ones that benefit most the people of Hot Spring County. Forgive me of my sins in the name of my Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Ready to stand? To the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In order, thank each and every one of them for coming. We have special guests. We have elected office. So at this time, I would ask the judge, do we have anything come before the full court, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I want to give this opportunity for my time here. Would you like to tell the court what you're going to do, Brother Smith? We tried to talk him out of it if we can.
Well, because of my travel plans and this travel, I'm going to be gone this summer 4.5 months. I have resigned as of April 30th. I almost didn't run this time because Mama wants to travel and David wants to travel, and therefore I'm resigning. It would not be fair to my constituent and or the court knowing I'm going to miss 7 or 8 things in a row. It wouldn't be fair, so I opted to resign.
Okay.
I appreciate my time here. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I thank you for the 5.5 years.
Okay.
Almost 5.5.
Personally, I hate to see you go. You've been a wonderful JP, and the county will reap a loss, I put it like that, and very hard to replace a good man.
Thank you.
Always replace crooks.
April 3rd. April 3rd.
Yeah. And so
Brother Smith, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
once you and your wife have the best, the blessings that go with your life travel, with your kids and grandkids. May the Lord be blessed to each and everybody.
Thank you.
All right? Anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say, give Brother Smith a little bit of advice. You bet if you want to do anything, you better do it while you're young and you feel like it, okay? Don't wait till you get old.
Well, I turned 80. I figure I've got another 22 or 3 years. The reason I figure that is because 5 days before I was 80, my uncle was 104, and he's still soloing at Qantas Club.
That's good. And we welcome you to come back and take part till your effective date of the resignation. And when we do that, I'll prepare you an ordinance. What we'll do is come before you and to declare vacancy on the court. That'll be after the 30th of April. So you won't vacate it until then.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate you, Brother Smith.
Thank you, sir.
Here.
It's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Sheriff?
Yes,
you
sir.
have anything you want to bring before the court?
Well, are we gonna break out in budget meeting?
Come on up.
I think he has something for budget, he said.
Oh,
Yeah, but just a
budget.
budget.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Oh, I thought you wanted something to bring before the full court.
No.
Okay. Any other elected office?
Well, I have something.
Yes, ma'am.
I asked a gentleman with the LifeNet to come tonight and talk to us because
Okay.
the city did sign the agreement with LifeNet Ambulance Service.
Sure.
I know that he came before, but it was before anything was signed, and I just thought it would be good for him to come back and talk to us, see if any of us had any questions, if we want to visit with him about the cost of using our 911 system, that type of thing.
Okay.
So I'll yield him 10 minutes, or if he, whatever he needs, here he is, and I just wanted to come kind of talk to us because it is a done deal. The mayor did sign it. They do start effective June the 1st with the city. So I asked him to come just in case he had any questions.
That's fine. Sir?
And sir, I don't have any prepared remarks. I'm basically here to answer questions, whatever the Quorum Court desires to hear about.
Well, I think the main thing is we just want to be, and I know you told us before, but since it's official that you do have an agreement with the city, we just want to make sure that our citizens out in the county is taken care of as far as ambulance.
Absolutely. Two things I would say to that, just like you've heard before. Well, one of the things you've heard before, what you've heard before remains true. We're planning to serve the entire county just the way ProMed did. You know, there's parts of the county that Baptist serves, in Howard or Adelphia. So nothing's going to change as far as any of that. Now, something else, if it would make you as a county elected body feel better, there are other counties in the state that you could look to for an example of this. One around Texarkana, where the primary contract is with the city, and then the county also signs an agreement, and they don't go through another whole bid process and reinvent the wheel. They just say, well, we're okay with the city's process of selecting a provider, but we're going to formalize that agreement. And if you're interested in formalizing that agreement and getting something on paper, if that would make you feel better about it, we'd be happy to do that as well.
What about the fees to the 911 like ProMed did?
Well,
Are y'all willing to pay that?
no, not the way that was formatted, because ProMed was paying for a service, and as they should. The county was providing them dispatch services. The county will not be providing those same dispatch services to us. And if you look at the city, the bid, the proposal, no matter who your next provider was going to be, even if it would have remained to be ProMed, they would have to develop their own comm center too. The contract specifies that the ambulance service needs to provide their own dispatching of their units. So ProMed was going to have to do that, and it would seem to me that when ProMed or whoever does that, why would they continue paying $12,000? I'm not sure what that agreement was for, what exactly the service was for. I haven't seen anything in writing, but as I understand it, that $12,000 was for the dispatching of services, and your next provider is going to be doing that themselves, as required by the contract with the city.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
You said you'll be providing service for all of Hot Springs County. Are y'all going to station ambulances in Bismarck, or will we still be using the same service out there? Or?
Yeah. Those other areas that have a different provider, they're going to keep their. We're not, taking over anything like that. We've contracted and agreed to provide service, certainly for the city. That's where our contract is. But we fully expect that means that anywhere that ProMed provided service in Hot Spring County, that's where we intend to provide service. We've gotten the maps with the help of Robin. We understand the boundaries, and that's our commitment. We're going to do the exact same thing that ProMed did as far as the boundaries.
Well, my question though, as far as income though, that has to come through our 911 system. For our 911 system then to send you the calls.
Right.
So, I mean, what if we don't get paid for that service, what if we cut off that service for your ambulance service?
I don't understand your question, I don't think.
I mean, when someone calls 911 and wants an ambulance, they're calling 911, they're finding out that they need an ambulance, Robin's group is, and they're punching a button, sending it on to you. So you're having to come through the county's 911 service. So what if we said, you either pay for that service or we will not dispatch calls to you?
I understand your rationale. That's uncommon.
Well, I understand that, but he's having to take his people, he's got to have people to answer those calls, and even though you're going to talk the people through, turn your child over, beat them on the back, whatever you do, it's still, they're going to take their time to answer the phone, find out what's going on, then hit the button, tell your ambulance people, your dispatch, we need an ambulance, and still they're going to take the time that they're taking after that call.
I don't think it's going to take all the time. There's all the time of tracking the ambulance, figuring out who to send, then following up, making sure they got there, making sure they get to the hospital. There's a significant part of that time that they won't be needing to spend anymore. Answering the call, okay, that's going to be the same. I would suggest to you, though, that on all phone bills, there's a 911 surcharge, and that money is designed to develop a 911 answering
That's
system.
true, but it isn't near enough.
I understand,
How much-
and I understand that amount of money is, I mean, it's
It's
a
a very
nationwide.
minimal
It's
amount
going
compared.
down because of the cell phone system, and Robin's way more of an expert on that than I am. I couldn't even speak very much about it.
I mean, I don't know how the other court feels about it, but, you know, I know that you're gonna take off June the 1st, but it seems like we're gonna have to have an agreement here that we're going to allow our 911 operators to actually send those calls
I
to you.
don't think we can stop it because of the fact that that's a mandate that we.
But it's not for the city. That has to be an interlocal agreement between the county and the city. They can provide their own service, or they can pay us for ours. But it's not a requirement that the county
That's what I
cover all the
understand. I checked with
the
all.
cities too. And since their agreement's with the city, then it ain't got nothing to do with us. I mean, unless they want to use our service.
But we're required to do, just like we're required to do fire calls and law enforcement
For the county,
for the county, we're required to do
But
that.
not the city.
but not the city.
Then wouldn't that be a city issue that we'd have to go with the city on?
Well, I know one thing, the county paid and the budget paid $195,000 to 911. City paid
81,
81,
what it used to be.
and you're tying up the city. Well, what about this, what are we gonna get for our $195,000?
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
What if,
I don't think it's a matter of time, though. It's a matter, you know, spend on the phone, it's a matter of call volume. I mean, if you
Sure.
got 15 calls coming in and one guy answers, but 7 of them are for your service, then that's calls that can't be answered by somebody else that's in the county that, you know, I mean, whether it takes 2 minutes or 10 minutes, I mean, it's still money we're having to come up with to fund something that the city of Malvern decided to do.
Sure, I understand, and like I said, it's not common, but I'm willing to talk about it and see where we can come to an agreement. I think it's important that what you're considering, I think, should be fair, and I'm sure you would agree that whatever system is developed to develop charges for that service should be equally applied to everyone and not just Lafayette.
correct me, Judge, if I'm wrong, but when 911 went before the people to vote on, it was gonna be run by this 65 cents on their phones. Now, let me finish. But later on, it wasn't enough money, so the city and the county enhanced that. This was before you being a county judge, am I not right?
That's right.
Then that's when the county went to putting a bunch of money into it.
Yeah,
And then the city put it in, and that's when the ambulance service put it in.
yeah. I think that probably in the very beginning, it was a little bit of a misunderstanding by the group of local people that were backing the 911 system, and I do think it was a good thing to do. But I know it was asked, a question was asked, the man from the telephone company was over there that day, and we met over here at the old Bank of Malvern, U.S. Bank now, and a question was asked. Will the phone call, with the money on the 60 cents on per line, would that cover the cost of the 911 system? And he hedged, and I'm sure he had seen it other places. He hedged and said it probably won't cover the whole thing. And I know all the times I was in the legislature, I had 911 systems that was coming to us up there, lobbying us to pass, raise it to $1, and raise it up to where it would cover, because a lot of them were struggling to keep it busy. But that's, you're right, Errol. It just wasn't enough there.
But it was enhanced.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
We can enhance it.
as a matter of fact, I thought that was one of the best deals I had ever heard in my life, is that we were not going to have to worry about having a dispatch service for the Malvern Police Department and the Malvern Fire Department. Hot dog, the county's going to take care of it. But the city did dispatch,
Yeah.
hired a couple of operators.
Do we have any more questions for this gentleman?
Yeah, I'd like to know, if you got a contract with the city of Malvern, why can't it be a publicized like people see it? My theory is, if you got a contract with the city of Malvern, you come to my house, pick me up, who you gonna bill? The city of Mauer or me?
Well, you, sir,
Wait a minute now, you gonna bill who?
you, the
Why
patient.
you gonna bill me? I didn't call you.
Well, assuming you called the emergency system, assuming you called 911, we have it, you know, that's what the contract is
No,
for.
let's get things straight. You have to come because you have got government tax exempt to do certain things. So if you come to my house, you got a contract with the city of Mallard. If 911 could call someone else, it'd be a different situation. But the contract, I think, reads where they have to call you.
Right.
I don't think it's right, period.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's done all the time in other areas. Think about, you know, garbage pickup can be thought of the same way, where there's a provider for certain areas that's contracted. It's very common. I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's,
Well, why do we have other services that comes up, like record service? They rotate around who we call.
and I spoke a little bit to that.
Service.
I spoke a little bit to that on the
I feel
last.
like there were some bad things that took place. I'd like to see a challenge in court myself.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Having been involved with this from the very first steps, from my point of view, there was nothing bad involved. There's been a lot of concern about that.
I don't think that if you go to court, you win, because I don't feel like the city has the right to do certain things against the citizens of the city.
Well, again, I'm not a
Unfortunately, that's
lawyer.
something that the city council did. This man just bid just like ProMed did. I mean, I'm not saying I'm for or
I
against
realize
anyone.
that he signed that contract.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the thing about it.
But right now, we're just concerned about coverage for the county and losing money that we desperately need.
I don't know what, I mean, I'm trying to understand if you had come here before and talked to us, and we knew this was an issue before y'all signed any contracts, why would you not want to figure out if this was gonna be resolved, or?
Are you talking about the 911 fees? Or are you talking
Yes.
about? Well, quite honestly, it's because it's unclear how to move forward with it. If the county is providing my company a service, then clearly there ought to be a way that we can agree, we can negotiate what that service is worth, and we're willing to pay any, fair, reasonable cost for that. And maybe I should just stop there. The problem that I think we're struggling with is, rather than figuring out what service is being provided and what that value is for that service, instead, we're going the other direction. And I understand, I'm not trying to be critical, but it seems like we're working it backwards from how can we get $12,000?
We're gonna have to sit down as the county and figure out a system. Like you said, we can't build like that. If we're gonna build EMS, we'll have to find out first if that's legal, but then we've got to build Baptist and we've got to build all of them.
Well, that's why I asked Robin if he would try to get those figures
If we
together.
do that, then are we gonna have to start building law enforcement and fire departments? I mean, where's the legality in? We gonna start.
Well, we charge the city of Mountain for police and fire service. The county fire departments are county entities that we already pay for. So all that's really left is the various ambulance services that,
And Rockport pays. a
in
portion.
Rockport, yeah.
They pay a portion.
So the city.
And that's the system that we need to look at, and we can readjust that. Can't we?
Is it gonna put less work on the 911, that they can back off of their budget? The $12,000?
I think, like you said, it needs to be fair for everybody. There needs to be a simple formula, because Mountain needs to pay more than they're already paying.
I agree.
The ambulance services in the city, I mean, based on everybody's call volume, I would assume, I don't know how you can do it.
See, in the last few years, who got the most calls?
We have to refer that to Robin. You don't?
We didn't. We started in January, but it was really, as far as EMS, it was irrelevant. Because we've got three different ambulance, or four at the time, currently 4 different ambulance services that serve the county. And we didn't have a very good way to track what was in the city and what was in the county. We've been working on that since. But there are some limitations with our.
This will give 911 more answering time, because like during a disaster or something, whenever there's a lot of call volume going on, they're not going to spend the time that they had to spend before monitoring the ambulance service. But that's the only way it's going to free up time.
Well, now, when you say monitoring, I asked you to go, but when you say monitoring, do they stay on the phone with them until they get to their location?
Not through resolution, but no.
They don't
So,
stay on there, but
yes.
they have to answer every call
Right.
that the ambulance service has.
Well, and they're gonna
Or
have
that-
to with this ambulance service too. They're gonna have to answer it and then forward it on to their dispatchers.
Then they're through.
Or are they
But
not
I
through?
think we have to look at it as a
Are they not
cost.
through right now with ProMed?
Well, after the call ends, then we dispatch, we're on the radio with the ambulance, and there's the volume, or not the volume, but the workload associated with that won't be there.
Well, how long, what do you tell them exactly? I need an ambulance at 11 at Culvert, somebody fell off a ladder, is that what you basically tell them?
But essentially.
Okay,
Then
so
they
whenever
check around
when you
and-
transfer the call here, are you gonna tell them anything or just transfer the call and hang up?
We'll just transfer the call. We'll monitor it for a brief period, to determine if we need to get first responders or not, because we'll still be doing
So
that.
you will still be on the phone. So
But
I bet
for
time-wise,
some
it's gonna be close to
But
the
the
same.
thing that's different, that I think is different, is the fact that if ProMed asked in the past, if ProMed asked for another ambulance, if they asked for anything, it was 911's job to do that. But they're not going to be
But
doing
would
it.
they stay on the line the whole time or call you back, so we need another ambulance?
They have to monitor that radio frequency
It would
and
be
the
on radio.
volume of those, every how many times.
So it wouldn't be,
they
it wouldn't be the phone, it'd be a radio.
It's radio, yeah, it's all radio. And so it's just sort of who keys the mic more times, and so you can only be talking to one person at a time, and if you're talking to the ambulance service, you can't be talking to somebody else.
So it's gonna cost 911 any less the way they're doing it.
Not cost-wise, it's just they
So
will,
the cost is what we need to
except
share.
for if
Yeah,
Robin
regardless
had to
of-
call in a third or fourth dispatcher during a disaster or something. That's the only
But
thing.
how often does that happen? Not-
No, that's what I'm saying, they still gotta have somebody to answer the phone. That
All
person.
right, well, do we have any more questions for this gentleman?
I was just wondering if there's any other ambulances that came to 911, or is ProMed the only? No?
They did
I stand
because,
corrected, I don't know of any, do you have?
No.
because they didn't have a dispatch center. They literally worked out of their ambulances, they got a call, and 911 took care of
Do
it.
you pay for a 911 service at any other location you're at?
I'm sorry, do we pay for, no, you mean like pay like the county or whoever?
Right, or city, you don't pay any type of fees?
Now, I'm aware of other systems that do, but not like that, not in, I'm not aware of any in Arkansas that do.
The old county gonna wind up getting hooked again and built.
I think the reason we had.
It ain't your fault this time. Wasn't my fault, though?
Nobody ever thought that.
I think the reason we had a lot of work is because most of us in here, hadn't attended the city meetings while between ProMed and you all in the city. And so, as for instance, I didn't make any of the meeting. So that's the reason that we are trying to come up to Shelby Park and see what different service, how much change in your program than ProMed? What you gonna improve on that ProMed did?
Well, I'm not here to speak for ProMed, and I'm not a, expert on what they have provided to the community, so I can't speak to what they do. I can only speak to what LifeNet does, and, like just like ProMed, I would assume, we're very proud of our clinical abilities. We have very aggressive clinical protocols, which means pain management on scene, 12 lead EKGs on scene.
Okay.
So from a clinical standpoint, I feel very strongly that the patients are going to get.
You're gonna give us good quality service, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's what we do, and I'm sure ProMed would say the same thing that that's what they do. I'm not here to speak poorly about anyone.
So y'all keep the 3 ambulances in Malvern all the time?
Depends what we have to be careful. Are we talking about my fleet size, or are we talking about on-duty ambulances?
Well, I mean, are you gonna establish a satellite here?
Yes, we're gonna have at least one building here. We're still trying to locate that. Where is it gonna be? Depending upon where it is located, that may necessitate a second building. But we're gonna have at least one building here. There are gonna be 4 vehicles here. We will staff at least 2 of them 24 hours a day. And what's still in a little bit of flux is there's gonna be a 3rd vehicle. Is how many hours per week is that 3rd vehicle gonna be staffed? And we're gonna have to work through that to figure out the answer to that. I don't wanna overpromise you and then not give you what I promise. So that's why you might think I'm not giving you what you deserve or need, but I'm being very careful not to overpromise you. There's a expectation for response time compliance. I'm absolutely going to meet that, and I'm going to do it while providing great care and customer service. Now, is that 3 ambulances? Is it 4 ambulances? Is it 5 ambulances? I'm not sure yet. I don't want to promise you what that is yet, but whatever it is, that's what we're going to do.
Well, now, one thing that was brought up was the membership fee, because I've heard that from people in my district.
Yes.
You know, right now it's $55 for a family, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yours has gone up to $85. Are you going to grandfather in anybody that's already paying or already a member?
We haven't been approached by anyone at ProMed yet about how they would like to do that. We've talked about it internal to LifeNet, and what we think makes sense is for anybody who's purchased a ProMed membership prior to June 1st, takeover date. We'll honor that for 1 calendar cycle, whenever that next expires. But when it does expire, in order for that to continue being valid, they would need to, become a member of the LifeNet subscription, which means a higher price. I don't know.
Are you familiar with the billing part of it?
Somewhat.
Do most insurance pay the 100% on the ambulance,
No.
or no, there's a copay
No,
claim?
yeah. Some pay, gotta be really careful when you talk about deductibles too. If you haven't met your deductible, then you pay the whole thing. So just like any other medical bill,
So
we're
it's worth
responsible.
having that membership.
Yes, I think so.
And how much, just for everybody to make sure, tell them what the
We
membership is?
have 3 different levels. I'm just gonna, I'll tell you about all 3. There's a $75 one, that's the lowest price one. That's for ground ambulance, and ground ambulance only. Because we also have a helicopter program, we also have a $90 one that is just for the helicopter.
Is that an individual or a family?
A family, a household.
Household.
And then if you want both ground and air ambulance coverage, that's $135 a year.
But the individual 75 is.
75 is the basic, the everyday, what most people would subscribe.
What does that give you? Have an
It's, insurance is all complicated.
I'm paid 100% so.
There's 2 main benefits I'll talk about that are the primary benefits. If you have some insurance, let's say it's Medicare or Medicaid, well, not Medicaid is different, because Medicaid, if you're a Medicaid patient, then whatever the state pays on Medicaid, that's all there is. So if you have Medicaid, don't buy a subscription from anybody, because whatever the state pays, you're done. You shouldn't have to pay a subscription to anybody. So if you have Medicare or private insurance, whatever they pay, and the fact that you've already bought a subscription, you're considered done. There will be no out-of-pocket for you because you paid for your subscription. If you don't have insurance, then what we do is take a 40% discount off the price, and that's what you're responsible for. So that's what your subscription benefit is you either paid in full because you have insurance, or you get a 40% discount because you have a subscription.
Here, is that it?
Bismarck to St. Joe was 1,800 and something. Tell you exactly how much that is.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You bet.
That's not it.
Any committee need to come before the full board. Any committee, yeah.
Yes, sir. The Godly Trust Committee has done some research, and I want to submit that to you to try to get some type of input from the full court. And so I've got some pictures, just pass those around. I don't have quite enough for everybody. Just, it's a packet, just send it. Some of you will have to share. Let's see Okay, let me just give you a little background how this all started. It started with our sign out on county property, and the ACLU, of course, didn't like that, and the sign had to come down. So what we thought we'd try to do is go by the law, and first picture is, you can't see too well, but this was taken at our state capitol in the Senate area. And so, In God We Trust is a national motto, and the code number is, it was passed in 1956, the code number is 36 USC 302. So I think that we'll be okay by doing it this way, because it is, you know, a national product from our Congress. In this, we were trying to decide what to do, how to present it, and I have several different ways that we could do it, several different options. I took some pictures of some large stones. One is from a landscaping company there in Hot Springs. The other one is an eye clinic in Hot Springs, and the one here is from the Whitewater Park. This is local down here on the river. So if you want to visit that to see what that looks like. And also I have, my wife took the opportunity to put In God We Trust on one of the rocks. Just kind of give you an idea. That was one option. Another option that we have is, I talked to the Malvern Monument Company, and they said that they could do engraving on the building itself. And so there's we have four different doors, four different entrances. And one is of the front door, and one is of the back door, and then we have one of the side door. And we have one that's up above the canopy, and the other one is low at eyesight. So, and I saw other places where maybe a plaque was placed in front, made out of granite of some sort that could be placed up there, or another plaque maybe out of not copper but bronze or something like, you know, something like that that would be considered as an option too. So I wanted to present this to you to see what you thought, and see if you had anything else in mind that you think would be appropriate for the county.
I like it on the building.
Pardon?
I like the about the door of the building.
Do you?
I like that.
Did you check on the prices?
Of course, again, on the rocks, on the stones. To place it on the building, it was approximately $200 per In God We Trust. Now, if they go over the canopy, it'd be a little bit more as far as, you know, scaffolding over if we take the canopy down or whatever. But I figure the cost, we could raise money through some churches and things like that. I don't think the county should be involved in that part. It's just what we want to do and where we want to place. Of course, if we'll place on the building, you know, that's where it'll go. But if we'll place on a stone, then we decide where that goes. And how big of a stone if we decide to do it that way.
What would you rather have, Judge?
Well, let me take, Mr. Chairman, may I talk to the court and Don? If you decide to go with stone, there's one thing I'd like to know, if you determine on the committee, I'd like to know how big you want it. And also, I think that probably ought to think about where you're gonna put it, located on the campus here.
Okay, do we have an option, or would you,
No, I
you want your input on that, or?
Well, let me just ask you, before I go any farther, if you had a donor, if you had a stone donor, stone donor, would you consider a little inscription on there, stone donated by John Doe? And that was not, the donor, the prospective donor did not ask for that.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I think so, just put it small at the bottom or something.
It would not, I don't think it'd do anything to take away from, it's just, and that was not part of the possibility of a stone donor. But I thought it might be something good to do. And
I think there's one on War Memorial out there.
but I would like to, I'd like to know about approximately what size you'd like to, probably with the size and the shape, then the shape wouldn't matter that much. It's just
Get one about the size of all these tables here.
Hey,
Probably
don't, hey.
Stick that out there with nobody. They see it, they take all the pictures they
I'm gonna
want.
tell you something, I saw one the other day that won't go through that hole. I'd put it someplace where we can see this one. If you want to put it out around the monument or somewhere off and stand free by itself on the corner or something. You know.
Now, this one was about 3 feet tall.
3 feet
Yeah.
tall.
And what you do, you
I just think that.
put the concrete about that deep and
Yeah, that was,
Oh, you're a good footer.
On a probably concrete base.
yeah, concrete base or.
They got one out to the river, that's pretty good.
yeah, that's a good size.
Let me ask you first, has any other county at 75 that we have said wording on the county facility?
Any other county?
Yes.
In Arkansas?
Yes, in Arkansas.
I don't know if there is in Arkansas. I've read the different ones across the
Yeah,
United
I'm all
States
for
that
this.
that have done it.
I'm not the atheist. I'm not atheist.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we do have 4 interests, right? So are we talking about 2 or 4 or 1?
Well, I think he's saying either do it on the entrances, or do the rock, or do both.
Well, probably or.
Or, so he's talking about
Yeah.
doing it on the building, or do a big rock.
Yeah.
Do either
All
or.
4 interests coming in here.
Well, it doesn't have to be. We could take, like, the front, it looked good in the front, but not many people use the front.
That's true, that's not attractive.
Yeah, it'd be the back door probably. We could go with one on the back door, or, you know,
That should be just a couple $100 for the whole description. We'll put it over every door, no matter where you walk in.
yeah. Well, if it goes over a canopy, it'd probably be closer to $300 to $400, I would think, by the time we do that, but,
Right, they can't
Yeah.
go down, put it back up.
yeah.
Since we trust in God, which owns and have everything, so how can we use what it cost? He owns everything.
Are we gonna offer this out for donations? I mean, how does that process, what do you think?
Well, I had someone that would kind of organize a process to, you know, go to
I'd
churches.
like to ask one question.
Yes, sir.
Under the state law, that county judge is in charge of the property. Why are we talking about it?
Well, we're the committee. We're presenting this to the
I think
judge.
I asked y'all to do this.
Yes.
You asked who, Bill?
I'd asked them to serve as a kind of little research committee. Because Don seemed like he has the most interest of all.
Well, y'all know that there will be a lawsuit if we put anything up, period. Now, y'all can do what you want to. And the Civil Liberty Union has
This has been proven in court. It's gone to the Supreme Court. and it's still standing.
Well,
I was gonna say, our state capital could do it and
I
us
read
not
that
be able
paper
to.
every
When
day.
Mr.
It's on
Officer
our
said
money.
it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just principle of signs. I'm not, don't get me wrong, I go to church, I'm a Christian.
How big is
Place
this
to
down
separate.
That's the one down at the White River.
You know,
It's probably 6 by 4,
Yeah.
6 or 7 by 4. Yeah, it's a pretty good size, it's a good size
Is
rock.
that the one down at the river?
Yes.
You can go by the Millennium Park and see that.
what that would cost.
Well, the judge said he got.
Yeah, he's got a donor.
If I, well, let me,
Possible, I'm sorry, possible.
possible
Stone
donor.
donor.
That's stone.
Hesitate, don't bring it up.
Stone
I go
donor.
get
Stone
it.
donor.
I have not got
Not
the delivery.
If it costs $800 to $1,000 to do the.
I don't think it'd be that this
Yeah,
type of
now,
office.
why don't we put one of these?
It probably would be.
I think we see
Probably the rocket
donations come to it. Might be, there's money to do all that.
But the stone and the.
Yeah,
Probably
but
about
I think it's stone out here would look.
4,000, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's also look good on
$5,000.
this courthouse.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, we got plenty of money.
Well, I thought you was gonna donate most of it.
Yeah, you can start things off.
You want us to take this back?
I guarantee
You can keep those if you want, or, you know,
I don't know about who stone donor is, it doesn't matter to me. If you put it on the building, I'll put it on it myself. That's how I feel about it.
okay.
What about the stone?
You know, the Civil Liberties Union.
What about the stone?
What we think.
Well, that's what he's talking about doing all of
Do
it,
both.
stone and the,
Okay.
so yeah, check with the stone, see if that
I'll be honest with you.
donor might give it to
When I
us.
ran into this deal, I couldn't live this, so I couldn't haul anything hard enough. I wanted to
Judge,
strike
I
while
don't know
the
what
fire was
I
hot.
know, but I'm serious about this law business. That gazebo was put out there. The court had nothing to do with it. The property that belongs to the county judge is in charge of it. We have no control over it. If you read the law, we have nobody works for us. We have no, the court is the only time they have got authority is when they're in session in here, and that's all. You can marry people, and you can sign warrants for certain things if the circuit judge is not in the county. But we don't have the right to do things on property unless we don't pass an ordinance. A man should bring the ordinance up here if he wants to do something.
Well, I still think
we
we
got
got
the
to do
authority
it.
through an ordinance, because you are the custodian.
I think there's still time if you want, and I would say, and James, I would say that if we do this, I think there should be ordinance. And let me tell you why. You are doing this according to this county's law, law. In other words, it's not just the fact that somebody is about taking a whim to put something on the building. You passed a law, but there's somebody that faces it, they're gonna be breaking the law. Not just making somebody mad.
Well, this is true, because everybody not gonna
But-
agree with it anyway, so we.
Brenda's right about Mr. Holmes. He did
Don't
say
money,
God
I don't
we
trust
trust
money, because I ain't got we trust on it.
because it's on our money and it's a lot, there's a lot of other places you can get it.
So many people, I hate that.
What does that
Well-
mean?
Well, you know, I mean, you got some people gonna fight anything with God on it. I mean, you know, you can look at these
They
people,
gonna
they
lose.
marching and everything.
In the long run, they're gonna lose.
But Pete,
Okay.
But I'm just saying.
yeah,
It's time for the people of God's side.
Okay.
So
All right.
what I'd like to do is just go to the next step,
Right.
next level, and maybe see exactly what we want to do, and then,
And God we trust, and on every bill we got. I mean, well, they ain't got anything. on
Keep
it.
passing around.
On the deal.
Can you pass around that home?
you can't see that with these glasses, but take it home and check it out.
Don't want, don't want, don't
yeah, the stone, if we can get the stone ready here,
Just take a 5 minutes.
it would be about $200 to $300 a just don't.
Pete, see if he'll pass around some more.
Right. Then Greg.
Put some grades on the building,
It was like maybe.
on the lower part.
Okay. Where are we now? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, where are we now? Okay, you gonna bring orders, present to next school, 14th? Okay, ordinance and a resolution, which one is that?
Okay, we'll check on it.
Okay,
We'll,
you're gonna look at, and you will present this, the second Tuesday next month.
yes, sir.
Okay, all right, where are we now? Any more? Any more? Anybody else?
I was gonna say, how about 911 committee, let's talk.
911,
Yeah. When we break out in meetings, 911 needs, we need to talk, Rob.
or what you mean, your?
911.
Okay, all right.
We got one, sir.
Okay, the sheriff wanna talk to the,
You got the name.
sheriff wanna talk to the budget.